Well, damn, I didn't know it was the early 2000s anymore. Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be another epic rant, and oh boy, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I figured, it's the end of the year, I gotta get a few more out, and this film I'm going to be reviewing is one that I thought was one that could very much fit that list, because as you guys know, I try to have the most accurate, best, and worst list possible, and this is a film that really seemed like it was going to fit that billing, and that, of course, is a film that everyone was just so hyped for, that of course being Playing with Fire, a film that's allegedly a theatrical release, even though it feels like a TV movie that would have come on to like Nickelodeon these days, but whatever. It's a theatrical film. I'm really not entirely sure why, but yeah, I was pretty much dreading this one. It looked like absolute garbage. It looked like a film that, as I said in the beginning, if you didn't understand my joke, it seemed like a movie that would come out in like the early 2000s when this was a very popular genre. You would take adult actors and you'd put them in films that are predominantly with kids, whether it was Eddie Murphy and Daddy Daycare, which is a personal favorite of mine. That is a nostalgic film that I will never be able to hate. Or Vin Diesel in The Pacifier, or, all kinds of films like that. There were tons of actors that were doing that in the early 2000s, and this very much seemed like it was going to be a throwback to that. The difference is movies like that do not sell well today. Nobody wants to see that nowadays. We have moved past that era, and so the fact that we were going to get that again here, it just seemed really dumb and really desperate, and that's exactly what it is. Playing with Fire is, without a doubt, one of the worst films of the entire year. There's so much I hate about this movie, but I guess we're just getting into it right now. So the acting here, I mean, what do you expect in a movie like this? The acting here is atrocious. There's not a single good performance in this entire movie. Everyone either just sounds really bored or they're really hamming it up to the point where they're awful. Let's talk about John Cena, an actor that, as of late, I've actually really been enjoying. I think he's found his groove quite well. I think he's found the kind of roles that he settled in, and that being said, this is not at all the kind of role that he should be doing. John Cena has proven that he can work well in films where he is more of a goofy guy, or where he's not taking himself as seriously. He does not work as the straight man in a movie, and considering that's basically what he is throughout this entire thing, aside from a few jokes, it really doesn't work at all. And god damn it, he's trying. He is trying. He really is trying to do something great here, but it's just not working. It's not working at all. It falls so incredibly flat. I did not like him in this movie very much at all. Any time that he tries to be like the macho man, he's playing it way too straight, and I feel like they need to give him something a lot goofier than they could have, and it just doesn't work here. I do not think that he was good, but he's not even close to the worst thing about this movie. I mean, his performance is Oscar-worthy compared to everyone else. Keegan-Michael Key in this film. Holy shit. Look, I thought he was annoying in The Star in 2017 when he was that annoying fucking pigeon or whatever that wouldn't shut the fuck up, and he just kept, like, going on. He just kept, like, rapping and twerking and things like that, and I just hated that character. This might be worse. This honestly might be even worse than that role, because this is the kind of character that always just has something to say. Anything that happens, he needs to get his 2 cents in, Cena's trying to have this emotional moment with one of the kids. Key's got to come in and say something really dumb. Or he's trying to have a sweet moment with Judy Greer. Key's got to come in and try to fuck it up for him. He always just has something to say, and it's so annoying. Everything about him, they're trying so hard to make him like the big comedic standout, and it does not work at all. I found him so relentlessly annoying in this movie. I couldn't stand him here, and I kept thinking, why is John Cena even friends with him? He seems more annoyed by him, if anything. It doesn't really seem like this guy has done much of anything to help him. It seems like he's just there because, like, he's the guy that always feels he needs to interject into everything, and it's like, just like, shut the fuck up. We don't need your 2 cents into everything. And I just could not stand him in this movie. And there are legitimate points where he just, like, come the fuck out of nowhere. That tells me that they were really trying to make him this, you know, big comedic standout, and it just does not work at all. I found him so annoying in this movie, and like I said, there were moments where he just come out of nowhere, and I'd be like, oh, where'd he come from? Like, how did he even get there? Like, he just, like, not even, like, walk in the room. Like, they'd be talking, he'd, like, rise up as if he's, like, you know, like, fucking, like, Spock or something from Star Trek, where he's able to teleport. But as far as I know, this movie is not a sci-fi film, so I don't think these characters have teleportation devices. So, yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense at all, and, Key is just easily one of the worst things about this movie. I found him so annoying. Probably one of the worst parts of the entire year, to be honest with you. I could not stand him in this movie. And honestly, you haven't even seen the worst of him in the trailer. That's how annoying he is. If you thought he was annoying in the trailer, oh boy, just wait till you see the movie. He's awful. He really is awful. John Leguizamo sounds so bored in this film. It really seems like he's just doing it because he needs to do something. And I don't understand how he does something like When They See Us, such a critically acclaimed show that he got a Emmy nomination for, mind you. I want to reiterate that. And then do something like this. I don't understand Leguizamo's mindset. He seems to just take everything, and I think that's his biggest problem. He takes every project that he's offered, and I think that ultimately is what ends up killing his career in the end. I don't think he's completely killed his career yet, but films like this come very close for sure. As far as ever, so yeah, those three are terrible. I couldn't stand them in the movie, but the kids are just so bad here. And look, I like Brianna Hildebrand a lot, but she is just playing the very snooty, very just, you know, the very snooty, very sarcastic, older sister, and that's really all she does here. She doesn't feel that these guys should be taking care of them. She feels like she can do it on her own. We've seen this arc 1,000 times before. There's not really anything new that they do with her. I really didn't feel like she cared to be in this movie, and she's way more talented than this. She's a really talented actress, and she has almost nothing to work with here. I really didn't like her at all. Both of the kid actors, though, whoa, they were really, really bad here. I couldn't stand them at all. Christian Convery, just every single line, he's like shouting, and it's so annoying. And then Finley Rose-Slater, I'm not even convinced she's really an actress. She's far too young. She clearly does not have that range yet at all. I don't even think she has much of a range. She's just here to be the cute little baby that will fart and, you know, cry and do all these, you know, ridiculous things because, oh, we gotta have that cute little girl in a movie, and it just doesn't work at all. I really, really hated her here. Just everyone in this movie. Tyler Maine as well, this character of Axe, I thought was so bad here, so bad. He's playing such a one-note character, and it just didn't work at all. Everyone just sucks in this movie. There's not a single good performance here. Everyone's terrible. Judy Greer isn't good. You know, Dennis Hay, nobody's good here. Nobody does a good job, but that's nothing, I think, compared to the directing and the writing, because Andy Fickman's directing easily is some of the worst of the entire year. Look, at the very least, I was hoping this could be a film that was, like, really bad, but in a funny way. Like, it's one that I could laugh at. And I can't even do that because Fickman's directing is so inconsistent. He legitimately does not know who these movies are for. And that's something that I can't say for, like, some of these other films. Like, films, like I said, like Daddy Daycare and things like that. Like, they knew its target audience. Playing with Fire does not know its target audience. In one scene, you'll have shirtless John Cena and all these women oogling him and talking about, oh, you know, how attractive he is and things like that. And you'll have Judy Greer being outraged by the fact that he, you know, basically said something that she took as sexist and took it the wrong way, and we're supposed to laugh at that. And then you'll have fucking Finley Rose-Slater shitting her pants. It's in the same movie. It's in the same movie. Again, Fickman he does not seem to know what he is trying to go for here. Is he trying to go for a more child demographic, or is he trying to appeal to more adults? He has no idea, and the movie really does suffer because of that. There is not a single scene in this movie that made me laugh. Not a single one. I found every scene in this movie to be so cringy in terms of humor, and I think he did a really bad job of that. But the thing he does even worse is the more heartwarming moments, because you know they're going to be here every single time. They feel so jarring. They feel so forceful in that way. And I just felt Fickman's directing was truly atrocious here. It's some of the worst of the entire year. And I mean, I don't know what I should expect from the guy that did such classics like, say, You Again, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. I mean, this guy knows what he's doing for sure. He definitely, keep hiring this guy. Totally not one of the worst directors working today, but whatever, I digress. Really bad directing for sure. The writing in this film, though, holy shit, is it terrible. I mean, there's so much to hate about this movie. Every single one of these characters is pretty much a walking cliche. You have our main character, Soups, who, he has this whole sort of dilemma where he wants to be, he wants to get this position, and he's doing everything he can to do that, and, he has this whole thing where he's still kind of, grieving over his dad and things like he wants to be the commander of the smoke jumpers and all that kind of stuff, and, basically he feels like it's his duty to take over, but he also is kind of following the footsteps of his late father, and it's just such a cliche role. You know exactly where this is going to go. You know he's going to start off, kind of just tolerating the kids, and then eventually he's going to warm up to them. It's not well written, and there's so many scenes with him that are just so awful. So many scenes with him that I couldn't stand. Like I said, in the beginning of the movie, there's literally a scene where all of these women are just like oogling him. I felt like I was watching a parody film. I really did. The first scene where you see these guys as smoke jumpers in action is laughably bad. It legitimately feels like a parody movie. It doesn't feel like a real movie in that way. I had to remind myself that I was in the right movie because it certainly didn't feel that way. It was a really awkward way to start things off, and unfortunately it doesn't get better from there. um, his character just falls so flat. I couldn't stand him at all. And the other characters in this movie, everyone's terrible. There's not a single good character in this entire film. And there's so many things that are just the jokes in this movie, especially, they don't feel like jokes. They really don't. It's one of those movies where it feels like they are less of trying to make people laugh and more of just catering to certain demographics. Like, they think a joke of just the little girl, when John Cena asks what he wants to play on the piano, the little girl referencing all of these rap artists is funny because, oh, we know these rap artists and we find it funny that a little girl would be saying that. Like, what's even the joke there? Why is that funny to you? There's nothing funny about just a little girl spouting things off. There is no punchline there. Or when John Cena asks the kids what they want to listen to, the first thing they say is BTS, and oh, he doesn't know what BTS is, of course, because he's an old boomer or something like that, even though he's not a boomer. He doesn't know what that is because he's out of touch or whatever, and it's stuff like that. It's just really fucking stupid. But easily, I would say the two worst jokes in this movie. There's a subplot that goes on that we'll talk about a little bit later that I have a lot to say about. Yes, definitely the scene where the little girl ends up, shitting her pants. That whole scene is so grotesque and so much more. It's even more disgusting than what you saw in the trailer. There's one part of it especially that just really, really grossed me out, and I couldn't believe they actually left it in the film. It felt like something that they would have cut out because they were going too far. But no, they literally left it in there, and it was so nasty. I hated every second of it. But the other scene that really did get me in terms of comedy, is the scene where John Cena, he has to play the piano, right? There's the scene where he's on a date with Judy Greer because, oh, Judy Greer has to be his love interest in the movie. Even though in the beginning of the film, she didn't seem to care about him at all of a sudden, she's his love interest. That's her role in the film. He's playing this song, and turns out, he's playing Ring of Fire from Johnny Cash. And I'm like, okay, they can kind of go with the idea that maybe the song meant something to him. But then he starts playing, I believe it was Disco Inferno or something like that. And so they have this joke that every single song that he plays, he only knows how to play fire-related music because he's a smoke jumper. I'm not joking. That's an actual scene in this movie. That is an actual joke. Andy Fickman wrote this. He thought it actually, well, he didn't write it, but Dan Ewen and Matt Lieberman wrote this. They actually thought that this would be funny. They thought people would get the joke here, but like, again, there is no joke. Just, he's a smoke jumper, and it just shows how little they have to work with this character. The fact that that's the kind of joke that they can get out there, it's just terrible. The jokes in this movie are some of the worst the entire year. And oh my god, the other half of this movie that I have to talk about, there's literally a subplot in this film. You would think that it would just be a scene. You know, it starts off and the kids are watching My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. This is something that both of the kids are very much obsessed with. They really enjoy the show, and that's fine. That's something that you would assume kids would enjoy. What you don't expect to happen, that this becomes an entire subplot to where everyone except Soups becomes obsessed with it. And they don't just start to, you know, watch it in like a casual way. No, they become obsessed with it. They start to structure their everyday lives. They get into fights over which character is better. They start quoting lines from My Little Pony. They start, they start playing with the toys from My Little Pony. They just become obsessed with it. And look, I know there are bronies out there. I don't have a problem with that. You like what you like and things like that. But oh my god, just seeing these three grown men, they're supposed to be these smoke jumpers. They're supposed to be really macho and things like that. Seeing them quoting My Little Pony is just so fucking embarrassing, and I couldn't believe that this was actually a subplot. There is literally a scene where they have this whole My Little Pony party, and one of the characters, Axe, who doesn't speak throughout the entire movie, mind you, all of a sudden, because the cake is My Little Pony theme, he then proceeds to sing the My Little Pony theme in an operatic voice. Again, this is something that was written. They thought it would be funny. I just don't get it. I don't get the humor in this movie, and I don't think that it's here because they need a subplot. It's here because My Little Pony is a well-known property, and oh, they're gonna sell, you know, My Little Pony. If we put this in here, My Little Pony stock will go up more. Like, it's so corporate in that way. There's so many jokes that are like that, and it just doesn't really work for me at all. The humor is so bottom of the barrel in that way. But the other part of the movie that really doesn't work, as I said, are the more heartwarming moments. Because we do get a few in here. There's a really jarring scene, especially, where we find out something about the kid's past, and it never comes up again. It's a really heartwarming scene, and it just kind of ends. And I found it to be so fucking weird. Like, I was like, why is this getting so serious all of a sudden? It just didn't work at all. There's a whole thing between Keegan-Michael Key and Brianna Hildebrand. You think that's going to go somewhere, and it doesn't go much of anywhere aside from he acknowledges it at the end of the film, and I feel like they just did that just so I wouldn't be complaining, just so they can be like, well, we can't just, like, drop that. We gotta, like, bring that up at least once more, right? It's like, no, you could have actually made that a legitimate subplot. You could have actually gone somewhere with that, but no, you chose to just half-ass it, and that's why this movie turns out the way it does. So yeah, pretty much one of the worst screenplays of the entire year. There's so much to hate when it comes to this screenplay. There's so many baffling choices. There's so much to unpack here. And again, it really just feels like a film that is going to be dated in about, I would say, 2 to 3 years. There's so many dated references. There's so many jokes that just don't work at all. And I could not stand the humor in this movie. I couldn't stand any of the screenplay here. The cinematography here is really, really laughable because you have these characters that are supposed to be smoke jumpers. This is an actual occupation, and a big part of the movie is that they've said, at least in interviews, that they wanted to honor these people. The problem is, it doesn't really work when you portray them as like they're fucking superheroes or something. Like, that doesn't work. We don't see these guys as real people, and the cinematography is a big reason for that. Anytime that these smoke jumpers are in action, you feel like you're watching a Marvel movie. That's the way it's filmed. It feels so impractical. It feels so just unrealistic, and it just doesn't work at all. I didn't think they did a good job with framing that kind of stuff. There were so many scenes that that are just really badly filmed. The climax especially, I thought was honestly kind of laughable. There was one scene where it almost got me to laugh audibly, but it was only for a few seconds. But just the idea of it is really dumb, and it's just really badly filmed in that way. It does, at points, very much feel like a TV movie. I would not be surprised if this is a film that was supposed to be one, but for some reason ended up in theaters. It very much has the feel of one. I don't really understand, to be honest with you, why this movie came to theaters. It doesn't really feel like one that would fit in here. The score is really emotionally manipulative in that way. Any time that it played, I thought that it was so overbearing. It really got in the way of everything. It wouldn't stop. I just really could not stand the score in this movie. It was so generic, and it was trying so hard to, like, tug at your heartstrings, but it's like, this is a really fucking stupid movie. I don't care about... it's going to be very hard for me to care about a bunch of grown men that are obsessed over a children's show. Or, John Cena and him trying to become, like, the commander when constantly they're not taking it that seriously. It just, again, says a lot about Andy Fickman's directing. They didn't know what to do tonally with this movie. The editing here is terrible. Just, guys, everything about Playing with Fire is in complete disaster. This is the kind of film that you really are surprised would come out now. This is the kind of film that really is a career low point for pretty much everyone involved. I think I've made it pretty clear right now. It has some of the worst performances of the entire year. It has one of the worst screenplays as well. So much awful dialogue, so many dated references. It's filled to the brim with just so many cringy scenes, so many scenes that it doesn't know whether to appeal to kids or adults. I mean, I don't think many kids are really that interested in seeing John Cena shirtless, but if you want to see that, there's a whole scene. It doesn't just go on for a scene, it goes on for almost an entire sequence where he is, in fact, shirtless. He's wearing, like, this half shirt throughout the entire movie, and it's just so pandering in that way. I really could not stand this film at all. This is easily one of the worst films of the entire year, and I'm absolutely going to give Playing with Fire overall an F.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Look, I mean, there's a lot of great films out there right now. There's a lot of films that I think you guys should very much support, some of which I'll be reviewing very soon, but then there's this, and it doesn't belong in the same decade. It really doesn't. It does not belong with all these other films, probably why it bombed, but, yeah, if you guys want to see Playing with Fire, I mean, it probably left your theater by now, but I mean, I guess seek it out if you can. I didn't think I was going to be able to see it in theaters, but thankfully I had a theater that was playing it one last time, so I was able to see it before Rise of Skywalker. What a great double feature that was. I saw a terrible film and a very disappointing film, so, yeah, great stuff overall, but, yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall, left your thoughts in it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.